Hey everyone, Cooper here, host of the fine podcast you're listening to. I just want to let you know that the episode you clicked on has a format that is very heavily inspired by a podcast called The Bookening. To be clear, our thoughts and opinions in this episode are our own, but the format is very similar to this podcast. I just wanted to give you a heads up and give credit where it is due. With that out of the way, enjoy the show.
Coming up next, Book and It continues their discussion on The Hobbit. Hey everybody, and thanks for listening. I'm your humble and eloquent host, Cooper Cobbs. I really appreciate all the people who tuned in to listen last week. It was really exciting just to see all the numbers. I'm joined today by our three panelists, Matthew Killingsworth.
Howdy.
Tanner Lewis.
Hello.
And Isaiah Ryetzky.
Yo.
We all are really excited just to continue to do this, aren't we, guys?
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
I'd like to apologize on some of the content last week. Last week we said that we would hold the books up to the biblical standard. Sorry about that. And we didn't exactly do that last week. So we will do our best to make sure that happens this week and the following episodes. The thing I want to do this week that we didn't do last week is our quote-unquote baggage, which is where we say where we first found this book, how we first read it, what got us into this book. So, Isaiah, why don't you go first? When did you hear about this book?
I heard about this book just from some friends. I just heard them talking about it, and I just wanted to know what it was. And then I just asked my parents if I could read it, and yeah, that's pretty much how I heard about it.
Tanner, about you?
I have had this book on my bookshelf since I was about, 10. And I wanted to read that ever since I saw it on my bookshelf. And it took me a few years to convince my parents to read it, but I just had it on my bookshelf, and I was really interested after I finished The Hobbit.
Nice. Matthew, about you?
Well, I read Harry Potter and loved it, so I was looking around online, I think, for some more fantasy novels to read, because Harry Potter got me pretty into fantasy. And I saw The Hobbit, and obviously, it was super popular and hyped up and stuff, so I was like, I'll try this one. And so I read it and didn't like it as much as Harry Potter and was honestly kind of bored with it, so I put it down and haven't had any motivation to read it or Lord of the Rings until now. I did see the movies, though, about a year ago, I think, at Isaiah's house.
Nice.
I kind of liked those better than the book, but I liked the book better the second time I read it, definitely.
What do you think about the movies that made it better than the book for you?
Well, I think it's just because I was so much younger when I first read the book. I thought it was super boring, and so when I saw the movies, when I was both older and I understood more, and it wasn't reading, it was watching, so I guess that just made it better for me for how I remembered the book. But now that I've read it again, I definitely think the book's better.
Did the movies kind of help open up The Hobbit for you, do you think?
Honestly, no. I mean, I watched them, I thought they were good movies, and then I was like, whatever. Still not reading the book.
Yeah. So for me, my parents have never read The Hobbit before, but they saw the movies, is what everybody tells me. So I think Dad saw the movies, and I don't know, how old was I? I think the first one came out in 2012, so it would have been 7. And Dad said, he brought me to the library, and he gave me The Hobbit, and he read the first chapter out loud, because obviously I would never read the first chapter that young on my own. After I read the first chapter, I kind of took over, and it was kind of boring, but it got better as it went along. I didn't like it so much at the end that I decided to read Lord of the Rings, and I got maybe a third of the way through Return of the King before I decided that it was too boring for me. I definitely thought The Hobbit was a good book, I could tell, but it was a little slow. And obviously, when you're younger, you think that a good book means you like it and it's entertaining, and a bad book means it's slow and boring.
Uh-huh.
And so The Hobbit, I guess, I could tell it was well written, but I also knew that it wasn't that interesting or entertaining. And so, then I was into other books, fantasy novels. But then a few years later, I came back to The Hobbit, and I just loved it so much. And I thought this was such a great book. So, Hobbit's always been just a great book for me. So, yeah. Alrighty, guys. I suppose we should actually discuss The Hobbit. Let's move on. I think we left off. Everybody's captured in Mirkwood, so Barrel's out of bond. Now, this chapter is really the chapter where Bilbo becomes Bilbo the burglar and not Bilbo the Hobbit again. You know, or Bilbo the Hobbit, whatever. I don't know. Does he make this jump too quick? Is it so drastic too quickly?
I would say not, because as I said last episode, I really don't think that we jump from home Hobbit hole Bilbo to adventurous or burglar Bilbo ever. I really think that we just see Bilbo's new to him sides, like sides that have always been there, but he's never really paid attention to.
Right. How about you guys, Zay and Matthew?
I kind of see what Tanner's saying, but I also think he, eventually, at some point decides. Like, I know definitely, like in the second chapter, I think is when they start going on the venture, while he's walking on the ponies, or he's like riding on the ponies, and they have plenty of food, and they're just like singing and joking and having fun. And he's like, this isn't so bad. And then there's also times when he thinks it is so bad. So I think he enjoys it being different, but like there is in everything, there's times that he doesn't enjoy it. There's certain things about it that he doesn't enjoy. But I think he likes the difference of it.
But he doesn't jump drastically, do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't say drastically.
Yeah, not drastically, but it's still pretty big jump. Because before, Bilbo was always like scared to go out, do stuff. Even while they were on their adventure, he wouldn't fight that much or anything. Or he'd run away, or try to run away. And then all of a sudden, he breaks into an elvish castle and pretty much saves his friends and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He doesn't he save them from the goblins too?
No.
Oh, no, that's the elves after it. Cause yeah, that's right. Because he gets the ring from the goblins, and then he uses it to be invisible, right?
Right. So that reminds me, maybe I had my little cousin get a little mad at me. He said, you spoiled the book, so I'm going to say it right now. It's a little late, but these are going to have spoilers in them. Sorry about that. I know I just said that last episode, but from here on out, they're probably all going to have spoilers. Sorry about that.
Generally, this podcast is for people who have read and liked the books that we're talking about. Not that you can't listen to it, but...
I mean, or people who don't want to read the book and just hear like a bit what it's about.
Yeah, Matthew didn't want to read
That's
this
true.
book. He was totally against it.
That's true.
That might be a little bit of an exaggeration.
No, you were totally against it.
I haven't complained about it.
Well, it's true. Well, earlier on you did. Okay, we'll move past that. Alrighty, so, like I said last episode, we get into the part where Bilbo was like, oh, I wish I was home again. I wish I was home again. And I'm like, dude, come on. But anyway, we move on. He rescues Thorin. And is it this part where they're like, where he tells the dwarves to get their hopes up because he found Thorin and he gives them the message and all that? Is this the part where they're thinking about all the gold is theirs, or is that? Did you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think that's the part.
And I was thinking, like, I don't know. I think I had a dream, actually. I had read The Hobbit before I went to bed, and I had a dream a few days ago. Like, me and my buddies, or I guess it was me as Bilbo and the Hobbits, and we were in the dwarves, and we were going to attack Smaug, and I got so scared. I'm like, would you and 13 other people, do you think you could take on a dragon? How scared would you be on taking on a dragon with just 13 other people?
That would be really scary. But they also didn't really even take on the dragon in the book. They kind of just hid from it the whole time and let Lake Town kill it.
That's true. We'll get there in a minute, Isaiah. Let's answer the question, man. Do you think, like, how scared would you be?
What?
If you actually thought you were going to have to go there and just fight on a dragon with just 14 people.
I'd freak out.
How about you guys, Tanner and Matthew?
I think thinking about it and knowing about it beforehand would make it scarier. Because if you just walked in there, you were planning to just go back to the mountain, and there was a dragon there, then yeah, you'd be kind of scared, but like you'd have to do something right away. You'd have to go hide or like occupy your mind with trying to either fight it or run away or something. but when you know it's there, and you have to like mentally build up for that the whole journey, that's what's scary.
Do you think that Tolkien has, I don't know, does he kind of skimp off of not really putting that doubt in the characters' minds? Because I know we already talked about the characters not being fully psychologically formed.
Yeah, I think it kind of relates, like what you just said, to what you said last week when we were talking about how he describes like the scenery and the world a lot more fully than the characters,
Right.
and he makes sure we know about that like in like more prioritized than the characters, I guess.
Right, and this is a kid's book after all.
Yeah.
All right, Tanner, do you want to say anything before I move on about Barrels Out of Bond?
No, not really.
Alrighty, hang on. Does Barrels Out of Bond include the scene where they're in the barrels and they're rolling, or is that the next chapter?
I think so, right? Isn't that why it's named that?
Yes, that's when Bilbo, at the very end of the chapter.
No.
Yes, it
Or
is.
is it the next one?
It's a warm welcome, right? Yeah, it's a warm
Oh.
welcome.
Yeah, it's halfway through
Oh.
because at the end of Barrels Out of Bounds, they leave, like they just go through the trapdoor at the bottom, and leave,
Right.
and then it starts with them floating in the river.
The reason I wanted to bring that up, I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think Tolkien would say if he saw the Hobbit movies? And before you answer, I have one in particular. I don't know if you guys remember in the movie, in Desolation of Smaug, like the barrel literally takes out. Obviously, there's not any orcs or goblins attacking them, but the barrel literally hops out of the water and like steamrolls 5 orcs before falling in the water. What do you think Tolkien would have had to say about that?
That was so funny. He probably would be like mad about it.
That, or he'd just laugh it off and not really care that much.
What about Tanner? Tanner, what do you think about it?
I've read and studied Tolkien a lot, and I think that he would really just laugh it off. I think that Tolkien is a really humorous guy. While he was writing the Lord of the Rings trilogy, he spent 98% of his time answering fan mail and giving people, just ordinary people like you and me, like names from names for like their pets or for children from Middle Earth. So I think he would just laugh it off from what I understand of him.
And there's the other part. What about like the is it Killy who falls in love with Tardiel? I'm just like, brah, come on. Peter Jackson, you gotta throw something in there, really. Because in The Hobbit, I mean, there's nothing like that in there. I actually think Tolkien would have been pretty mad about the part with the elf maiden and Killy falling in love. Actually, I mean,
I would if someone added that big of a thing and a character to my story.
Right. What do you think Tolkien had to say about Legolas in the Hobbit movies?
I think he would have objected. Legolas ended up taking a huge part of the book of the movies, I mean. And Tolkien was very careful to not have any elves like make or break the movie or the book. But I think he would be mad that they would put a character from a future book into his book right then to make or break the book.
I guess we can get into our ungodly discussion now, but I'm like, having an elf maiden fall in love with a dwarf, I'm like, that's a little questionable to begin with, right? Right?
It's a kid's story, too.
I'm talking about the movies.
Oh. Well, actually, I was going to say, I think part of the reason they might have done that is because whoever, I don't know who directed the movies or came up with the idea to
Peter
make
Jackson.
Yeah, that guy. Like, I think actually the movie was directed more towards bigger audiences and not just kids.
Yeah, obviously the Hobbit movies, they're pretty extreme.
Uh-huh.
They're not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're not kid movies. I guess I think that Peter Jackson had to do a lot of character build up, especially in the Lord of the Rings. Gosh, we're talking about the movies a lot. Sorry for you guys trying to hear about the books. But so let's just go ahead and fast forward a little bit. I'm sorry guys, but I'm gonna say Fili and Kili, they die, right? And along with Thorin. And in the books, I didn't feel anything the first time I read. Like, oh no, they died. Did you guys feel anything like that when you read it?
Oh yeah, it just like said maybe 2 lines about it and then just went right on. Like nothing happened.
Yeah, 2 lines. Tanner.
Honestly, I think I was more sad about Philly and Killy dying than about Thorin.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I'm saying you didn't feel like a tearjerk, did you?
No.
What about you, Tanner? Did you feel a tearjerk?
Not necessarily. I think Tolkien really wanted to ease it off because, once again, kids' book type thing.
Right.
That's true. I think you're right, Tanner.
But then again, I think what I'm saying, Peter Jackson added the Elf-Dwarf love story, just so he could give some weight to feeling Keely. Like, when they died in the movie, I mean, I wasn't close to crying. I really cry in movies, like, never. But I was closer to crying in the movies than I was in the book.
I know, yeah, I agree with that. And it was a lot more dramatic in the movies, too. They spent a lot more time on it.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, yeah. Peter Jackson is like the epitome of like dramatic, like the scene of Helm's Deep, where the people are riding. I won't spoil that actually. We'll move on.
That's a good scene in the movie though.
That's his favorite part, Battle of Helm's Deep. All right, so we're on to Lake Town. I'm gonna go ahead and say that this part with the last 25% of the book, it's probably the worst part of the book. Last third of the book. What do you guys say?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like really bad, but it also wasn't the best. It was okay. Some like the beginning of the book, like just like the first chapter wasn't like is about the same as this, but the whole book was good. Like everything in it was good, but wasn't the best books I've read.
Yeah. Tan, I know you've read this a couple of times. Over the course of your times that you've read, is this the worst part of the book?
Not necessarily.
The end
Yeah,
of the book?
I would say that it's not, just because of he's trying to wrap up the book, and everyone knows when you're trying to wrap up a book, you get lazy a bit too. So I wouldn't say he's trying to make that the worst part of the book. No one tries to make their book have a worst part, obviously. But
it's definitely not the best part, though, is it?
it is not the best part, but it's also not the worst part.
Okay, so in Lake Town, Thor basically marches in, says a couple of words, and everybody's like, "Yay! It's the Mountain King." I guess I like Tolkien's description of Thorin. When he says he looked the words that he said. When he stood taller, or the voice. Do you guys like that?
Mm-hmm. That was a good description.
Yeah.
You guys gotta give me a little bit more juice. Come on, what was good about it?
Well, it was good because he decided to, I guess, spend some time thinking about how it would really feel if he was in there, like in the situation, and found the right words to use to write it, to, let other people see it too. Let the people who are reading it really be able to see that. I mean, that's really something great that Tolkien is known for, is his ability to describe stuff and let people be there, when he writes it. But like you were saying, sometimes some parts of the books are a little less like that, and I don't know if it's like how Tanner was saying, like he's getting lazy or whatever, but this part he really decided to do that. So
I know there's just parts of Tolkien you can tell he spent just a lot of time on it.
exactly.
I could totally see him just spending a whole day just fine
Oh,
doing
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
If not like a week. I finished reading Return of the King. I won't spoil it for you, but there's this line, and it's like, "He has fallen, and his cure is beyond us, but we will let him go in the hope that he will find it." I'm just like, that's just amazing. Like, nobody's, like I said last episode, I think Tolkien's the best fantasy writer of all time. And that's the reason, like, nobody's ever just gonna surpass his description or just the occasional line of dialogue or paragraph. It's just beyond anybody anymore. Tanner, do you think anybody's ever gonna be as great as Tolkien again?
I would not say that anybody will be, but I do think that someone can match him. C.S. Lewis, for instance. I think that C.S. Lewis really could match Tolkien. First of all, they're best friends. So there is that.
Let's just go ahead and say, Tolkien was responsible for help leading Lewis to Christ, right?
Lewis was led to Christ by Tolkien and one other person who was in the Inklings, which is one of their, which is one of the book societies that Tolkien created. And C.S. Lewis, we're not going into C.S. Lewis right now, but just to say one quick thing, C.S. Lewis matches Tolkien because Tolkien helped C.S. Lewis. That's what I have to say. I think Tolkien is the original, but I think that C.S. Lewis could match that. And I think that C.S. Lewis also just pays a little bit more attention to overlying story and developing character.
I do agree with that. I think, like you said, Tanner, multiple times, The Hobbit is a kid's book, and I don't know if it's because of that Tolkien thought he has to make the characters a bit more bland, or that I personally think that if it's a kid's story, that you have to go deeper, but not too deep. And I agree with Tanner that character development is a bit better in the Chronicles of Narnia. I still think that Tolkien is the better writer. What do you think, Isaiah and Matthew?
Well, I think that it's hard for me to say because I haven't read any of his other books. So, like you were saying, he might have tried to not use as much descriptions for the characters and make them simpler, easier for kids to understand because he did design this to be a kid's book. So, but you've read some of his other books, right, Cooper? So, like,
Yeah.
Do you think that if he had wanted to, he could have made them better? Or is that just his thing is, like, making descriptive worlds but not characters?
So I think Tolkien is definitely not beyond. Let me say this. I bet Tolkien, if he had tried to gone deeper in his characters, he would have said it's not that good, right? And he probably would have been right for the talent that he has. Today, it probably would have been really great. But I agree with, it's kind of his thing that he's not the best at character development. Like I said, I think Lewis is better at that.
I agree.
But even the Lord of the Rings, they're written a lot different. Like I said last time, the style is a lot different. Like I said, the Hobbit's the fireside chat, and Lord of the Rings is more, I don't know, just dense. It's a lot denser, and I think it's written for adults, definitely, because the Hobbit's a lot lighter, and the Hobbit's not a light book. So, the Lord of the Rings is written for adults, and the characters are not any better. Like, he draws all the men the same.
Really?
The only characters that get some development are Sam,
Yeah.
and maybe Frodo some too. And even then, Sam has like one characteristic, and that's loyalty. So
That's interesting.
he just doesn't draw the characters great. Oh, by the way, guys, if you want us to read Lord of the Rings, go to patreon.com/bookinit. If we get to $75 a month, we read the Lord of the Rings. All right, Isaiah, your turn to answer now.
So I don't think that I don't know which one's better in my opinion. I think that they're both good, and it just depends on the reader, what type of style they like. If they like a lot of description of the world, then read Tolkien. But if they like a lot of description of the characters, read C.S. Lewis.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the person. The Chronicles of Narnia obviously are still beloved children's books today. I don't think that The Hobbit is really for kids anymore.
See, until you've mentioned it to me while we were making this podcast, like, I wouldn't have thought, I guess, that it was a kid's book. I mean, I just thought it was a normal book.
Yeah, I mean, if you read Lord of the Rings, Matthew, or when we read it, you're definitely going to see The Hobbit is written for kids, and Lord of the Rings it's not so much for kids. But C.S. Lewis is obviously for kids, but Tolkien kind of had to mix in a little bit. But yeah, and I think the world building's better in Tolkien. Maybe, arguably, the storyline is better. I don't know, but the character development is a lot better in Lewis. Alrighty, let's move on. So, yeah, go ahead, Isaiah.
Last episode, we talked about the Eagles and how we thought they were pointless. So, my dad told me that the representation for the Eagles could also be that they're like the angels, because they could be there, like, in real life. The angels could come and just protect us, save us, and just defeat sin right away with God's help, but they don't. Not yet. That's the same for the Eagles.
That's not a bad example. But the difference is the angels... I'm sorry, I have to beat this up, Isaiah. I'll try not to do it too badly. But the angels are other. They're higher than us, and they're definitely more powerful than us. And they're not of this world. The eagles, in this case, are of this world. And they could help, but they choose not to. Or they can't, I guess. Is what I'm saying. The difference is the eagles, they, quote-unquote, can't within the restrictions of the story. Now, Tolkien could twist it as the restrictions and make them do it, but in this case, they're restricted.
I think that's a good thought, Isaiah, but I don't think that's how Tolkien meant it. Obviously, we can't ask him because he died like 40 years ago, but
Okay.
All right. So, back to the book, On the Doorstep. On the Doorstep. Is there anything you guys want to say about this? I didn't really have anything in the questions or the notes.
No, I don't have anything to say about it.
Basically, they're just kind of walking to the doorstep.
mm-hmm.
I just have one thing to add on this chapter on the doorstep. I didn't really enjoy the movies just because it's not like Tolkien's writing. So, but this is one of the, I appreciate 2 or 3 things in the movies. First, I enjoy them putting all the poetry and songs to music so that I can hear those. Enjoy that.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
Second, I enjoyed watching them get to the doorstep. I think that was a great job on Peter
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson's part on that idea of them getting to the doorstep. I think that's a really imaginative way to do that, and I enjoyed watching the movies on that.
How did they do it on the movies? I don't remember. I haven't seen them in a few years.
I don't know. They just kind of, in this part, it's kind of bland.
Yeah.
A lot of times Tolkien, you can almost see it too well. This case, I don't know. I didn't really see it that well. I just saw rocks and people walking, but in the movies, they just do a lot of scenic shots, and it's pretty great.
Do they sing that song in this part too? In the movies?
Which song?
Like I don't know, like Over the Mountains or whatever that one is.
Misty Mountains?
Misty Mountains.
No, I don't think they sing it.
I thought I remember them singing that like while they're walking.
They do continue singing that song that they sung in the Hobbit hole in this particular part.
Oh, do they kind of play like the instrumental in the background or something?
Yes, they did. Okay, back to the books, folks.
All right, we'll talk about the movies a lot. Sorry, guys. Let's move on to the book. So, watching the movies, God, let's go back to the movies again. The part where they can't find the keyhole, I thought like, oh yeah, that's because I saw it. This is after the first time of the Hobbit, which was a long time before I saw the movies. I saw it, and I'm like, yeah, that has to be like dramatized. But actually, it's pretty dramatic in the book. Obviously not as dramatic as Peter Jackson does it, but it's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was it as dramatic as the movie, guys?
No.
But like, was it closer than you thought it would have been if you had saw the movies first,
I guess so.
knowing this was a book?
I mean, yeah. I guess if you saw the movies first, yeah.
Yeah, once again, we're seeing Tolkien loving his overlaying story plot, and he really likes in these types of positions to really push that excitement.
Alrighty, so I like this little paragraph. I think it's the 3rd paragraph of inside information. You are familiar with Thorin's style on important occasions, so I'll not give you any more of it. I was like, I appreciate that. Going back to the book, some authors, they write like this. They kind of slack off near the end, just of their style. It's a lot better in the beginning. And I guess like we said earlier, Tolkien kind of does slack off in the end a little bit, but I have to admit, like, he keeps up this style the entire time, the casual style the entire time. And is that what makes him so special, guys?
Once again, I would say yes.
Probably something, like probably part of what makes him so special, definitely.
I mean, just the ability to keep this up the entire time.
It's his style and the fact that he keeps it up the whole time, yeah.
Tolkien's just a really consistent fellow, and I think that's just a part of his character and the way he writes his books.
Yeah. I like inside information. I think it's pretty fun. I like Smaug. Does anybody think, is there any literary dragon that is better than Smaug?
I can't remember any other dragon being like a main character almost, or not necessarily main character, but like a named like
Right.
talking like important character.
Yes.
So I guess that is pretty unique. That's pretty cool, and it makes the plot really interesting because he's almost like I don't know, like a challenge, like a first challenge you have to get through, and then and then like after him they finally like get rid of him and stuff, and then they have to go through the big fight and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we talked about last week how we were arguing over whether Gandalf was the OG wizard, and I think Matthew brought up the point that Merlin is one of the originals. but there's no dragon in Merlin. That says, I don't think there's a dragon in Merlin. I mean, not in Merlin.
Yeah,
sorry,
I
King
don't-
Arthur.
I don't think there is.
So Tanner, can you think of one?
I can, but not anything that Merlin took on.
All right, Isaiah.
No. I think Smog would probably have to be one of the better ones.
One of the better ones.
Or, sorry, the best that I can think of right now.
I'm just kidding. Hard time. Alrighty. Seal of approval. Seal of approval. Smog, best literary dragon. I mean, I think going back through this, like I said, information is my second favorite chapter. As a kid, the first time you read this, did you think like the riddling names? Do you think that's good?
No. No.
No.
I can't remember them.
Hang on, let me find it. What page is this?
Are you talking about, wait, oh, the riddling game.
No, inside information. Sorry.
When Bilbo is with Smog and Smog can't see him because he has the ring on, and then Bilbo's like giving riddles saying about his name or who he is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought, well, I mean, I don't really remember the book that well the first time I read it, but I liked it this time.
Yeah. Tanner, what about you?
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed Bilbo's talk on that, like all of his riddling names. I think that once again we're seeing a bit of Tolkien's fun side, which is very apparent in these
It's pretty
types
great.
of positions. And I think it's really interesting watching him put out all of the things that he's done and all the adventures that he's had leading up to this point, talking with this dragon.
There's do you think? Sorry, I'm just. I think Tolkien draws bad guys pretty well. Sauron.
I agree.
So he doesn't draw Sauron. If you guys don't know, Sauron is the bad guy in the Lord of the Rings, and
I actually
you
did
never
not know
get.
this.
Yeah, you never get in Sauron's mind in the Lord of the Rings. He's just that ever-present evil, that ever-present threat, and it's actually pretty effective, you know, because your imagination is left to imagine who is Sauron.
But don't you get in Saruman's mind, the wizard?
Hey, let's not talk about Sauron. We don't want to give too much away, do we?
Okay.
I'm just. We got some criticism on spoiling the books, so we won't spoil Lord of the Rings. But like Smog, like if you're a kid out there and listen to this, if you want to draw just a bad guy who knows how to talk, like read this part in The Hobbit, because Smog is like, he's great. He's very clever. You guys think Smog talks very well?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Tanner, what about you?
Yes, I would say that he is one of those smooth, really good with the flow. He doesn't over exaggerate he does over exaggerate, let's be honest. But
Yeah, but it's not that obvious. It's pretty great.
exactly, he's graceful about it, as you said, Cooper. He pulls you in. He's one of those pour the honey over the bitter herbs type guy.
Right. I hate to compare him to Emperor Palpatine, but like especially in the prequels, like Emperor Palpatine he loves just showing up and being evil. Okay, he enjoys his job. Smog enjoys being evil, I think, very well.
And stealing money.
I think that's in the subcategory of being evil.
And I actually really agree with what Tanner said. Like, he just likes to have fun with it. Like, he just steals his money, and when someone comes, he just like toys around with them because he knows he could burn him at any second. Like, he doesn't really need to know who he is, or even need to see him. He can hear him. He knows exactly where he is. He could just blow fire on him, but he's just like toying around with him and trying to figure out who he is because it's kind of like a game to him almost. That's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah. Smog, everything's a game.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, after sleeping for however long he was sleeping on top of that gold, I mean, you'd want something entertaining, I'd think.
I don't know. Is there anything to say about not at home? And basically, they're running. They're sad. Yeah, we'll skip to Fire and Water. So, Smaug went to Lake Town, right? And then we get Bard the Bowman. I don't know about you guys. The first time I read The Hobbit, I think I literally started clapping when he shot the dragon.
No, I didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't. I didn't do that.
I mean, not really, but like
Yeah.
I thought he was pretty cool.
Tanner, what's your opinion on Bard the Bowman? Is he a cool character?
I do think that Bard the Bowman is a cool character. I think he gives us one of those more adventurous guys in The Hobbit. We've got, of the adventurous guys, we've got Gandalf, Thorin, and in the movies we have Legolas, but that doesn't count.
Right.
But those are about the maximum. Those three guys are about the maximum of the adventurous people. No one else really likes going on adventures unless they need to or it's vital to the survival of their people, like the dwarves.
Right. They're the main character warriors.
Yeah, so I just think that he's one of those cooler characters because I think, once again, Tolkien, but I think he doesn't do a really good job about putting good descriptions of the characters in there, but I think he did a relatively good job on Bard the Bowman. I think he really captured his adventurous spirit in there pretty well.
Right. Reading this again, I thought that he did a good job of summarizing Bard the Bowman in like a paragraph or so. Obviously, in the movies, here we are again, they gave him some depth, and so it made it a bit more dramatic. But I don't know. I think Tolkien did a good job setting up Bard the Bowman for the short time that we had him. I remember getting pretty sad when Bard the Bowman. Well, I thought he had died when the dragon fell. He didn't die. So, yeah, sorry, spoilers. Oh yeah, Thief in the Night. So, what do you think about dragon sickness? Was that realistic? Did he draw dragon sickness well? Do you kind of get what he was going for there?
I think so, yeah. He just described it really well, in my opinion.
This is a podcast. You gotta give me some more. Give me some more.
Like, it felt like you were there and actually seeing what happened and how he was acting and all that.
Right, Tanner, Matthew.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see what you're saying, Isaiah.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say from adding on to Isaiah. I think that he just does a great job describing everything outside of someone's actual character.
Yeah. So then we get a Thief in the Night. Bilbo sees Thorin's kind of sickness, and he gives the Arkenstone to Bard and the Elf King. And we meet Gandalf again.
Finally.
Oh yeah.
Nobody saw that coming, right? Nobody saw that. So there's one thing we might spend some time on here. We might go a little longer today than we did the other day. So last week I made maybe a controversial claim that I said that Gandalf was the OG wizard, right?
Yep.
And the other wizard that was in the debate was Gandalf. Now, obviously, Gandalf's not the OG. Let's not get into it right now, though. But a lot of people...
You misspoke. I think you're talking about Dumbledore, right?
Yes, sorry, Dumbledore, yeah. But then, a lot of people criticize Harry Potter. They won't let the kids read it, and Tanner's parents will let him read it because of all the magic and sorcery, right?
Yeah.
Right, Tanner?
Yes, this is correct.
But, Tanner, your parents let you read Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings says wizards and magic.
And the Chronicles of Narnia, for that matter.
Chronicles of Narnia. What is different about this magic than Harry Potter?
I think that in Harry Potter, it also goes to the evil side and talks about their spells and all that, and in more description about the spells and what they do and all that stuff.
But, Matthew, even you have to admit, reading Harry Potter, there were some times where you were like, even in Hogwarts, even when they're talking about, supposedly good stuff, that you were like, this is kind of concerning, right? There has to be one or two spots, right?
Like what?
Let's divination, for example. We won't spend too much time on Harry Potter, but divination. Did you ever feel kind of like, this is creepy, this is not right?
Not really, because, J.K. Rowling kind of made it a joke,
A joke?
Where it was like she was like it
Oh.
wasn't a real subject. It
Right.
was like people who pretended to do it, and like she was like a fraud and all that, and she just like was acting all fancy just to pretend like she had some magical power.
What do you think it is about Gandalf or the Hobbit that makes kids or makes parents more willing to let their kids read the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings over Harry Potter? Is it less extreme? What is it?
I would say that so for the Chronicles of Narnia or the Hobbit, they don't Tolkien and C.S. Lewis don't really pay attention to the magic a lot. They use it to get them out of situations, get them into other worlds, show the power of Jesus or God figures. But other than that, they don't really use it a lot, except to further the purpose of their book and get their story continuing to roll. Versus Harry Potter, from what I understand, it
Right.
is centered around
Magic.
all of your magic.
Right. So, some of you guys may be like, well, why is magic wrong? The Bible condemns sorcery, like, expressly. Right. It condemns it. And there's magic in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. But I don't think I've ever heard anybody ever say, I didn't let my kids read The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings because of magic.
I don't think I've ever heard that either.
But you've heard that with Harry Potter.
Because Harry Potter is mainly about magic, and it describes all the magic in a lot of it like in detail.
But I mean, Cooper's point, like to God, if sorcery is bad, if you use it a little bit or a lot, you're condemned to death. So I mean,
Right. What's the verse? He's like, if you have sinned against one commandment,
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
committed them all, or something like that. So, it doesn't matter how big or how small. Even a white lie is going to separate you from heaven, just like killing someone would. So,
yeah, that's true. That's a good question. Like, why are parents so much more worried about Harry Potter?
so Tanner, I want you to just go into your parents' mind real quick, and I want you to think. And I'm not condemning your parents at all because I know they have a valid reason. The Bible does condemn it, and I'm not saying that they're wrong. But I'm saying they let you read The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And that does have magic, and however very little it does, it's still magic. And I don't think we fully answered why you shouldn't let your kids read The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings over Harry Potter. Have we?
I would just say that once again, so in Harry Potter, as you know, J.K. Rowling is not a Christian, versus C.S. Lewis and Tolkien are both, when they write
Right.
all of their books that they write, they were both Christians. So I think that they use
Right.
magic as a way to show. So let's take some prophets in the Bible, for example. They've done things that 98% of the world right now would call magic. Agreed?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Miracles, yeah.
So I think that that what C.S. Lewis and Tolkien are trying to show is that magic is things that right now, magic are things that people cannot describe. They're miracles.
So what you're talking about is let me explain something real quick. So let's talk about Thor for I don't know why I'm bringing Thor, but in there they're talking about what you call magic is what what you call magic is what we call science. So you think there's some of that in there?
I would say yes, and I also think that that Tolkien makes all of his characters like he tries to hold them up to the to turn them into a biblical character.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying like in Harry Potter, even Dumbledore had serious flaws. I don't know this, Tanner, but he had serious flaws. you're saying Gandalf is almost like a Christ-like figure, and so that's why it's acceptable.
Kind of, and not really. I think he's more of an Elijah type person. Let's say that. Because he uses all of his magic and such for righteous purposes.
You could say that in Harry Potter, though.
You could, but once more, it's the center of the story. Versus The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, where all magic is a side note.
Okay.
So there is
That
that.
makes sense.
And where, as I said earlier, where Harry Potter is centered on magic, the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and all of C.S. Lewis's books are not centered on magic. They're centered on using magic to keep their story moving.
I would say they're centered on magic to keep it going.
Exactly. It's it's one of their quick tools to get things rolling. So, like, you couldn't have any of the Chronicles of Narnia without some type of magic. Let's be honest.
Right, because turn back time with magic and all that. Alright, I think we've successfully answered that, so I think we'll try and wrap up The Hobbit this episode. It might be a little longer, but we'll keep going. So, we'll skip on to the Battle of the Five Armies. Basically, the elves and the dwarves are about to fight each other, right? Because Thorin's cousin shows up, right? And then the goblins attack. Have you guys seen the How It Should Have Ended Lego version for The Hobbit?
No.
Basically, what happens is Azog's looking and says, "We attack at dawn." And the other goblins are like, "Bro, listen, they're about to kill each other. We just have to go in and kill everybody who's left." It's like, "We attack at dawn." And they're like, "No, we have to." It's like, "We attack at dawn." You think it's kind of silly? You think it's a plot hole that Tolkien basically makes the goblins attack at the exact moment they're about to fight each other?
I don't think it's a plot hole. I think it is the plot. I think he wrote it like that on purpose, so that it would be more interesting, so that it would be a battle of 5 armies, not a battle of 4 armies that resulted in the goblins killing whoever was left from that battle.
Do you think it's just to show the goblins' rage, that they're so angry that they don't care they're about to fight each other, or do you think it just shows they're stupid?
Probably more stupid, but kind of both, I guess.
So, but you got, I found it disturbing in the book that we never find Thorin's credit to Bard for killing the dragon, or even saying sorry for setting the dragon on them. Do you guys find that concerning?
Not really. I didn't even really notice that.
Yeah. I guess you could say, now that I brought it up, do you find that concerning?
A little bit, yeah.
Do you guys think that it's concerning that Thorin never gave credit to Bard, or that he never said sorry for saving the dragon upon Lake Town? Do you find that concerning?
I don't think I find it concerning. Like, I was reading the story and it's like a big plot twist or anything, because I think that was just showing more of his greed and how, like, his power hungriness, or power hunger, I guess, and how much he really wanted the Arkenstone thing, and showing that, like, the true person he wasn't a person who cared about any other people. He cared about ruling and owning the Arkenstone, and he cared about it so much that he let that affect everything else. How he lived. He just used people to get to what he
Matthew,
wanted.
why did you answer like this last time when I asked, give me a characteristic of Thorin, and you said he's hungry?
I did say he was hungry.
No, I'm saying, why did you answer like you just answered? That was a great answer.
I was abbreviating because we were running short on time.
Right. Wink, wink. Okay. So, can you guys tell this time how Tolkien just kind of skimps the battle scene? Could you guys tell it was pretty obvious that he purposely knocked Bilbo out so we could just tell it to the reader instead of...
Yeah, that was kind of disappointing, though.
Yeah, Isaiah, I have to say something. So about the Battle of Helm's Deep and Two Towers, it's not that epic, okay? In the movies, yes. In the book, he just kind of skims away from it again.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Did you find that annoying?
Kind of, but I think that's his style once more. I think that Tolkien really, because he designed this as a kid's book, he really just doesn't like adding all of those battle scenes.
But like, think about it. Think about it. Like, the entire book of The Hobbit and The Two Towers is leading up to, in The Hobbit, the battle against Smaug, which never happens. The Two Towers, it's all leading up to Helm's Deep.
The big battle.
To let down.
That's true. They're always talking about how they're going to get there, and they're going to fight him, and they're going to win, and they're going to get all their money back. That's all they're talking about the whole time. That's the whole point of the mission. And they get there, and they just, like, run away and hide. And then he goes and destroys the town, and then some other guy from the town kills him, and then they just think they can take all the money. That's true. I never thought about it like that, but you're right. It is all a build-up for the big battle against Smaug and how they're going to defeat him as a team and all this, and they never do.
As a book, I would say that is disappointing. You two, you have a valid point, but as an analogy, I would say that that's pretty good because he's basically showing how we do stuff that we build up to a bunch of stuff all the time, and we spend a lot of time building up to it, but we never actually do it. We boast about what we can do when we never do it, and then somebody else comes over and takes care of it for us.
Do you think that's really what Tolkien meant by that?
I think it might be. Tolkien really enjoyed putting analogies in his books. You can see it in a lot of places if you look for it.
But let me say one more thing, then we'll move on. Think about World War II. So Hitler took over in 93, and then we had 6 years of increasing drama until he invaded Poland, right? I'm saying in this drastic scale of warfare, that build-up rarely has a letdown. I mean, in small little things, yes, but in big things...
I feel like it could have been okay, too. Like, if it was all build-up for Smaug, and then they didn't battle Smaug, but then they battled 4 other armies, that could have been, like, an epic plot twist, kind of. But, like, I mean, like you said earlier.
Yeah, you could have been like, okay, that's fine. Alrighty, so Thorin on his deathbed, and he apologizes to Bilbo. I mean, it's probably one of the better scenes in The Hobbit. You know, he redeems Thorin. It's not bad, right, guys?
I guess. Thorin's still not my favorite guy.
I would say yes.
I mean, but does he bring him low enough to where the redemption before he dies is kind of sad?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of sad. I'd say kind of.
You felt more sad when Phil and Killy died. Yeah.
They were just better characters, especially in the movie, too.
Definitely.
But, I mean, the director designed it like that, but...
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Anything else you want to say about The Hobbit?
Oh, I think we've said all that we need to.
Yeah, I think we've just about wrapped it up.
Okay, got one more question for each of you, real quick. How many dwarves out of 13 do you give The Hobbit?
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
There's a rating system. How many dwarves out of 13?
I've never heard that before.
I give it 12.
No, like how many stars out of 5? How many dwarves out of 13 do you give The Hobbit?
I'd go with a 10.
12? Not bad. 10?
I'd say 11.
I'm going to say 11 too. I think it's really great, but it can be better sometimes. But still, you got the master of his craft at the top of his game. Alright, guys, should we do donor shoutouts?
Yeah, so everybody, as you know, on patreon.com /booking it.
Link is included in the description below.
That it is, Cooper. We have opportunities for y'all to donate to this podcast so that we can stay up and running and keep giving y'all great input on books. And gratefully, we have had 2 donations for this month. The first one, I'll let Cooper announce because he knows him best.
Yeah, my grandpa has decided to donate to us. So, Van Paps, it's for you. Thank you.
And we have another donation that I'll let Isaiah announce because he was the one who received the money.
So, my sister's friend decided to donate because she thought this podcast was awesome. So, thank you, Lizzie.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, so thanks both of y'all a lot. That was very kind of you. And we'll put the money to a great cause.
Yeah, guys. Hey, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard, make sure you go to patreon.com/bookinit. If you get any amount for a month, then you get a donor shout-out. If you can't donate for whatever reason, but you still like what you heard, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on Number the Stars coming out next week. And also maybe write a 5-star review for us. Yeah, please write a 5-star review. We could really appreciate that. Until next time, Matthew, hit us with the slogan.
Guys, as you know, this podcast is for you.